Hello there and good morning. Welcome to another daily ramble here at Claret and Booze. I'm actually recording this the night before that you're watching it, just because I've just got in from work. I thought I'd have a bit of time, so why not do a video? Before we get into what I want to talk about today, then first of all, if you like the show, then please hit the thumb notification to let us know you liked it. If you haven't already done so, then why not subscribe to our channel, Claret and Booze, on YouTube? And if you do that and hit the bell notification, you'll be notified as and when any of our shows get broadcast. So today, got a few little bits to talk about. I mean, you know, it's a fairly quiet news time at the minute. There's obviously the obvious bone of contention being Mr. David Moyes. I am going to cover that slightly, but probably a little bit of a different angle. I know everybody thinks I'm a Moyes sire fan, and some people suggest I must own David Moyes pajamas. To be honest with you, I wouldn't mind. So if anyone wants to get me in for Christmas, please do. Got a couple of little transfers to talk about. As we know, January transfer window coming around thick and fast. And we're just going to have a little chat, really. So, as I say, if you do like what you see today, like, subscribe, and hit the bell notification. Okay, first things first. One transfer that I want to talk about, which to me, you know, it's a fantastic story if it happened. And I think already this guy has shown that any player, at no matter what level, should never give up, if you like. Now, that is Mr. Isaiah Jones. Now, Isaiah Jones is a 23-year-old player, wingback, who plays for Middlesbrough currently. The reason I like this story is that, you know, very, very similar to our very own Premier League all-time top scorer, whether you like it or not, Mikel Antonio. Isaiah began his career with non-league Tooting and Mitcham. Now, Tooting and Mitcham are a team in South London who are a little bit of a hotbed for unsigned talent in the southeast of London. As we know at the minute and over the last few years, a lot of players have hailed from southeast London, the mean streets of southeast London, cage football, as they call it. People like Mikel Antonio, Jordan Sancho. And could Isaiah Jones be that next type of player to break through into the Premier League? Now, Isaiah, as I said, began his career with Tooting and Mitcham in 2017. He was there from 2017 to 2019, playing 55 games, scored 10 goals. It was whilst at Tooting and Mitcham and on the back of an FA Cup run that Tooting and Mitcham had in 2021 season, I believe, that he started to get a lot of interest, generate interest. And it was in 2019 that Middlesbrough decided to take a punt on him. He's been at Middlesbrough since 2019. He's made 59 appearances, scoring 3 goals, a fair amount of assists as well. He's had a couple of loan spells in that time to St Johnstone and Queen of the South up in Scotland. But this guy, you know, at 23, he's a good age, you know, and I could see someone like him being a Moyes type player. Is it too soon for him to come to the Premier League? I don't know. You know, we know that we are struggling somewhat with our wing backs. We don't have a massive amount of quality. You know, Cresswell's on his way out to some extent. Emerson, you know, I'm not sure what Moyes thinks about Emerson, to be fair, because he doesn't get a lot of game time at the minute. So could Isaiah Jones, you know, could he be the type of player that Moyes would go for? As I said, he's young, he's hungry, and he's a championship player. And Moyes, you know, Moyes likes picking up players from the championship. So, you know, it's a good story. He's got a good upbringing, coming from Tooting and Mitcham, who are very well respected non-league team, as I say. Whether Borough need to sell him or not in January, I'm not so sure. But you can bet your bottom dollar that, you know, West Ham are not the only team looking at this guy. Yeah, I think he's got 9 assists already. He just, he looks the real deal to me. Do we need him? Yes, we do. We do need wing backs. We need something better than we've got. I love Cresswell, but I think his time will probably be up at the end of this season. In the same vein, I've also heard that we've also been linked once more with Benfica's Alex Grimaldi. Now, Grimaldi we were linked with in the summer, wasn't we? And apparently he was also offered to Arsenal, but they decided to go for Zinchenko. Now, what's not to love about this guy? He is 27, 28, I believe. He's got a lot of history. He's got a lot of experience. He is the ready-made article for me. And apparently in the summer, he will be available on a free transfer. Now, Grimaldo, because of the fact that he's on a free transfer, if not already, other Premier League clubs are definitely going to be looking at him. He's been at Benfica since 2016. He's made over 150 appearances, if not more. He's represented Spain at every level, apart from senior level, interestingly. But, I still think that somebody like Grimaldo would obviously be a fantastic signing for West Ham. So that could be one of interest. If not in January, then definitely in the summer. And lastly, we've been linked with this guy. This is Hugo Guillamon. Apologies if I'm not saying it correctly. He plays for Valencia. He's also a Spanish international. He's broke through into the senior team for Valencia in 2020. He's only 22. He came in as a centre-back, but they noticed that he made a few mistakes, lack of concentration, etc. at the back. He's 5'10", not the biggest centre-half in the world as well. And it wasn't long before they sort of started playing him in more of a defensive midfield role, which is where he seems to have sort of, propelled himself forwards as a player. Very interesting player, good age again. He's had a lot of game time for Valencia. He's played a lot of games as well. So, you never know. Another one there that we could be looking to bring in. But do we need a CDM? Now, you could argue that Declan Rice is going to leave in the summer. You could also argue that they might look to ship Thomas Soucek out. Needless to say, one of them will probably be going in the summer and may more than likely be Rice, unless we can get some good players in or possibly win a trophy, which may persuade him to stay. So interestingly there, free links. Now we know the links are going to grow and grow as we get closer to that January transfer window. But, what with Isaiah Jones, Guillamon, and also Grimaldo, we're being linked with some good players once again, which is always nice. The team or the club's going in the right places, I always believe, when you are linked with good quality players, up-and-coming players. We used to get linked with has-beens to some extent, back in the day. So that's a little bit of transfer news there. You may or may not be excited by that. I'm not sure. Let me know what you think about those 3 players, and let me know what you think about us getting in a CDM, possibly. Which of the CDMs that we currently have would more than likely be shipped out? Now, I know a lot of people will probably say, I would rather it be Soucek, not just because we love Rice and we know how good he is, but also because of the form that Soucek's been playing with in recent months. So, yeah, let me know what you think in the comments and I'll try and reply to as many as I can. Now, look, we couldn't go on without getting my take on the whole David Moyes debacle. Now, I'm probably a tolerant fan. I'm probably more patient. I'm one of the patient people. And that's not me, looking to point fingers at those that are Moyes out. Because, as I always say, whatever your opinion is, That's your opinion. I totally respect people's opinions. I will always listen to people's opinions and people's reasons, and I'll respect them, even if I don't agree. And I would expect the same in return. And in the main, I can take it anyway. I'm thick-skinned, I get called all sorts. I mean, I'm a London taxi driver. You can imagine what I get called driving around the streets of London on a daily basis, but that's another story. The biggest problem I have at the moment is not people's opinions. It's not people's, Moyes out. That's fine. That's your opinion. It's all our club and we're all different people. The problem I have at the moment, and it really is a massive bugbear of mine, it's the language used towards David Moyes. The language used towards him, I find, in the main, not all of it, but a lot of the language is very colourful. And I actually find it, if I'm honest with you, and I'm sorry if I offend anyone, I find it quite disgusting. Now, at the end of the day, no matter what you think about this man currently, no matter what you think about his style, lack of tactics, lack of in-game tactics, lack of change, playing out-of-form players, no matter what you think about him, one thing this guy's done, I know I'm going to get picked up on this because people say it's in the past, but what the past 2 years, for me, the main thing that's enabled us as a club to do is to regain some respect. Let's be honest, to some extent, we were, plucky old West Ham, don't really get involved in much, mid-table to relegation fodder. It's just West Ham, plucky old West Ham. We were never seen as contenders for anything. In the last 2 seasons under Moyes, whether you like it or not, is fact. The facts are he took us to 2 European successive finishes in the league, 6th and 7th. Okay, this season's only Europa Conference, but for West Ham, it's Europe. All right. He took us to the Europa League semi-final last season. People will say, yeah, but he bottled it. Someone was going to lose that semi-final, and someone will always lose semi-finals. Whether they bottled it or not, it's another story again. My main concern is that run to the semi-final of Europe, of a prestigious European tournament, gained us some respect from not only other clubs in the UK, England and the Premier League, but also across Europe. So to me, Moyes deserves respect. Just because you respect him doesn't mean you have to agree with him. Doesn't mean you have to condone or accept the style of play that we're currently seeing. Because, like you, I would like West Ham to be a bit more entertaining. Like you, I would like Moyes to see things and change things a lot sooner than he generally does. And like you, I agree. The football, the performances at the minute, in the main, aren't great. Right? So I'm not here to try and persuade you otherwise. I'm not here to try and get you on side with me, or I'm not here to laugh at you. But what I'm trying to offer up is some of the language that I see spoken about in regards to David Moyes on social media. It's terrible. Look, I'm not here to pick people out, and I won't pick people out and name people and all that. But I've spoken to people in person, on WhatsApp, on social media, and some of the things people are calling him, some of the things are wishing upon him. I mean, it's ridiculous, You can want him out, but you can still respect the bloke, right? Doesn't mean that we have to be that club. Doesn't mean that we have to be that fan base that hound a man out in a way that is bordering on disgusting. Whether you like that phrase or not, I do apologise and I'm sorry, but some of the stuff I hear people say about him, honestly, it just absolutely gets my back up. And that's probably, in a way, that probably makes me more defensive of Moyes than I want to be. Because, like I said, I get bored. I go every home game, right? I missed one because I couldn't get there because my boy had a match. But I know how bad it's been, right? But the problem we've got now is the agenda against Moyes is building and building, right? the domino effect, as I call it. And that's fine. People can change their opinions, all right? I get that. And in a few months' time, I may be yeah, he's got to go now as well, right? But what's happening now is people can't see the woods for the trees. People's agenda, in my opinion, so strong that they admit one thing, but they won't admit the other. Now, what I mean by that is that let's take, for example, the Forest game. People won't admit we were unlucky in that game. We was unlucky, without a shadow of a doubt. But they won't admit we're lucky because they don't want that. They don't want that to come across like a compliment to Moyes or an acceptance to Moyes. But when we score goals that maybe VAR should rule out, those very same people will go, "Oh, we was lucky." You can't have it both ways. You can't say we was unlucky 1 minute, but lucky the next, or we wasn't unlucky. You know, you've got to see it for what it is. And I do. We are playing poor football in the main at the moment. Something needs to change. Moyes needs to be more proactive, more forward thinking. 100% agree with all of you. But let's not be, let's not slag the geezer off. Let's not call him all the names under the sun. Let's be respectful. And people will say we don't need to respect the manager. Well, unless they're an absolute, I think we do. And if he does go, when he does go, I think he can hold his head high, because what he's done to West Ham is bring back a sense of respectability over the last couple of years. Yes, as I said, the football ain't great, but we sort of became, we got away from being a little bit of a laughing stock to some extent by some of those other clubs who like to say, look up at us, if you know what I mean. So, and this is another thing I've heard, which is I can't get my head around this. And again, I'm not judging people for saying this, but as a fan, I've never wished upon my club to lose just because I don't like the manager. Even with Allardyce, the club is the most important thing. Okay, the owners, the manager, whoever, they are pretty much purely custodians of the club. My club is what matters to me mainly. And I'd never wish us to lose just so a manager would get the sack. What do you think about that? I've heard people have said it to me, I hope we get beat against Palace heavily and then Moyes gets the boot. I'm like, what? Really? I mean, that could never be further from my mind. Again, I'm not judging you. As we know, Moyes has been, he's been at West Ham now for just short of 3 years, I believe, is it? Yeah, just short of 3 years, 2 years and near enough 300 days. David Moyes has been in charge of the club. Now, he may well just be coming to the end of his time at the club. Managers these days have a sort of general shelf life. Now, the average tenure of a Premier League manager, as you can see, has declined rapidly over the years. Back in 2012, the average tenure, I can't say that word, I do apologise, of a Premier League manager was just about 1,400 days. As it stands now, it's just, about 700 days as a manager, Premier League average manager. And if you take Klopp and Guardiola out of that equation, then the average would probably it would definitely come a lot lower. And what I'm showing you there is that Moyes is already, pretty much at that limit. And maybe it is just general progression that his time will be up at the club sooner rather than later, whether results pick up or not, or whether performances pick up or not. But, let's not hound him out the way that I think people are trying to hand him out. I really disagree with it. You can have your opinions as much as you want, but there's no need for some of the names he's being called. There's no need for wishing that we lose as a club just so he gets the boot. I mean, again, I'm not judging you, but I would ask, you don't have to listen. Let's not be like some of them teams that we know. Interestingly, as well, Jared Bowen was interviewed after the Man United game, because this is something that really baffles me. So Bowen came out and said, basically, we were unlucky against Manchester United. He was talking specifically about the game. He said that he really believes that our luck will pick up soon. Our luck will change soon. He ruled a series of missed opportunities. David De Gea towards the end of the game there was superb. And people rightly say, why didn't we go for it sooner? I had the same question to some extent, but you can't deny in that section of time that we were unlucky. And Bowen's been a little bit, he's been very off form this season, hasn't he? And we know that, obviously he missed the penalty against Liverpool early on in the season. He missed a gilt-edged opportunity, I think, against Man United when we were pushing for that equaliser late in that game. And obviously we did have Declan Rice miss a penalty against Forest as well. And this is interesting because a lot of people will say, well, the reason we're missing all these chances is because the coaching's not right. Now, I think, I ain't got the stats or nothing, but just from being a fan and watching a lot of football, I think we must be one of the most wasteful teams in front of goal this season. We must be. We miss some absolute gilt-edge opportunities. We're getting chances. We're just not taking them. And everybody's to blame to some extent. And unfortunately for Bowen, because his form's been so poor, he seems to be, the chances seem to be falling to him in recent weeks. And obviously taking up the penalty reins after Rice's miss, it probably couldn't get any worse for him. But it's interesting because somebody said to me, well, we're missing all these chances because the coaching's not right. And I'm like, well, so we're missing chances. The coaches and the managers see us miss chances, and you're suggesting that we're not practicing shooting in training, or we're not practicing finishing in training? Of course we are. But there is an element of self-responsibility on these players. We all hear stories of somebody like, you may not want to hear it, Frank Lampard, after training, staying out, practicing free kicks. I know David Beckham was the same. These are professional footballers, and as much as they rely on being coached, they also have to take a certain amount of the blame themselves. If something's not working for them, they need to work on it themselves and put that extra effort in, go that extra mile. Responsibility is shared. Unfortunately, the buck does and will stop with David Moyes. I get that. I'm not naive to that, all right? But I truly believe that it's a shared responsibility. Now, will things change? I don't know. Will David Moyes suddenly go more attacking? I don't know. I hope so. I don't know. Maybe that's the problem. Maybe I hope rather than expect him to change. I do believe that with a few injuries we've had, especially in defence, it's had a knock-on effect. We haven't had a settled back four. We've missed some key players there. Skamaka's had a bit of illness. Paqueta's got that silly collarbone injury now, which hopefully he'll come back soon. So we've been very unsettled. But it's not to make excuses, it's facts. And let's just be respectful of what he's done. And yes, maybe his time will just naturally end sooner rather than later, or come the end of the season. But you bet your bottom dollar, if we don't win these next two games, at least before the World Cup break, things will only get worse for Moyes in terms of the fan base. And it's a shame. I don't want it to happen. I don't care what anyone says. I don't want us to lose against Palace or indeed Leicester. I'm sure you don't. We need to win both those games for the club, not for the manager. First and foremost, for the club. Okay? Moyes' time might be up soon anyway, as I say. But look, maybe I want him to change, as I said, more in hope than expectation. But, I pray to God that he does. And I hope that, I genuinely hope that we as a club can get out of this situation. Look, a couple of wins and we're right up there again, right? So these two games are massive. To me, they're both 6-pointers to some extent. So that's my ramble. I've gone on a little bit longer than normal. And as I say, this video is by no means judging anybody. You're more than welcome to judge me. I'm not here to try and change your mind. Just offering my opinion. Nick's got his opinion. Mine's slightly different, and I'm sure Gary's is as well. But leave any comments you like. Don't be too rude. I'll try and reply to as many as I can. But yeah, thank you for watching. Really appreciate you watching, and we're really happy with a lot of the feedback we're getting from you guys on the channel at the minute. It makes us realise that the effort we're putting in is showing that it's doing some good. We're all different personalities as well, so hopefully that helps. But as I say, if you do like what I've done today, then please hit the like button. Why not subscribe? Give it a thumbs up, whatever you want to do. But most importantly, leave a comment. I will answer you. I don't mind what you say to some extent as well. But thanks for watching. As I say, I've been John, aka Virgil, and we'll see you soon. Take care.